Ukrainians are fleeing to their country's western borders to escape Russia's invasion.
I want to eat now, want to sleep, want to take a shower.
So far, the majority have headed to Poland. Once notorious for refusing to accept Syrian refugees, the Polish government is welcoming Ukrainians with open arms. The Economist's correspondent Piotr Zaluski is in Poland at one of the main border crossings, Medyka. And 80 kilometers away on the Ukrainian side is correspondent Richard Enzor.
Right now, for everyone, the Polish border means the EU and it means sanctuary. A week ago, I was in Kiev in the line of fire, and like a lot of other people, I got on a train and I dashed westward away from the dropping bombs to try and just put a little bit of distance between myself and this outrageous war that is unfolding. Already 1 million people have crossed the border from Ukraine. That's somewhere between 2 and 3% of the population gone. This is the kind of exodus that we haven't seen since the days of Stalin and Hitler. About half of the Ukrainian migrants who have left the country have gone into Poland. It's a NATO country, and it means that Russian bombs are less likely to be falling on that side of the border than on this one. It's also a place with a lot of people who are in the Ukrainian diaspora, people who left after the first war in Donbass broke out in 2014. Also, a lot of migrant workers from Ukraine go over to Poland to pick the fruit, to drive the trucks, and to do a lot of the labor that needs to be done there. And the years of that adding up mean that there's a lot of links there.
I think possibly the most heartening part of this is seeing Poles and Ukrainians living in Poland, coming to the border to volunteer and to help in any way possible. You have Polish police, you have ambulances, you have buses that are bringing people to larger city centers near the border. They're bringing them to reception centers, to shelters. And it seems like, the vast majority of people are looked after. Relations between Poland and Ukraine and Poles and Ukrainians have been haunted, for decades by massacres perpetrated during the Second World War, and also forced resettlement in the aftermath of the Second World War. And to see these two nations, come together like this, I think is also quite remarkable. The government has even said that it is committed to providing shelter and food to any Ukrainian refugee, and that's quite a commitment to make, given that number, according to the UNHCR, might reach 4 million, and it might reach 4 million quite soon.
This is, of course, just the first part of what could become an unimaginably big exodus from Ukraine. So what we're seeing now is this kind of first wave of people who own cars, people who have connections abroad, people who feel like they can fit just about most of their life into a couple of suitcases and maybe a car. The second and subsequent waves are going to be people who are poorer, less well connected, and maybe less urban as well, less educated, and of course older. So this is going to be something that plays out over a very long period of time if we don't manage to find a way out of this war. And of course, as the destruction grows, the amount of people dreaming of a way to Europe is only going to grow with it.
In 2015-16, there was also a great outpouring of sympathy towards refugees, particularly from Syria, but it didn't take long for Europe's borders to close, and so that moment of welcome, that outpouring of sympathy, was quite brief. And I'm not sure how it'll play out with respect to Ukraine. There's a fear that places or countries like Poland are next, and that Putin will not stop in Ukraine. And I think that, for the time being, affects the level of solidarity and sympathy shown towards Ukrainian refugees. Whether and how long that will last, I think, is at this point still anyone's guess. Thank you for watching. To read all our coverage of the war in Ukraine, please click on the link and don't forget to subscribe.